It's a quiet Tuesday night at a mid-range restaurant in upstate New York, the kind of place where the soft jazz never quite fits the mood, and the air smells like lemon cleaner and burnt toast. The kind of place where nothing ever really happens, but tonight something does something that will make one man question everything he's ever known about who he is. The waiter's name is Eli Turner. 28 years old, polite, quiet, forgettable to most people. He's been working double shifts for months now, paying off his mother's medical bills. He moves through the Ravenwood diner like he's part of it. Apron, tied, tight, pen, tucked behind his ear. His eyes tired but kind. It's 10:37 p.m. The last customers have left except one booth by the window, a lone man sitting in the corner. His coat, dark heavy, looks expensive but worn. His hands folded neatly over a cup of black coffee, untouched. Eli glances at him, wiping down the counter with the same cloth he's used 1,000 times. There's something about the man that makes him uneasy, not in an obvious way, more like an echo in a dream. The man has been sitting there for over an hour, staring at something small in his hand. Eli checks the clock again, sighs, grabs the check and walks over, forcing a smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes. "Everything all right, sir?" The man looks up slowly, his gaze sharp. Calm, piercing gray eyes that seem to see straight through him. He nods once and his voice is low, gravelly. "It's fine, son. Could I get the check?" Eli nods, sets the folded paper on the table. The man studies it, then says something Eli doesn't expect. "Before I pay, I want to give you something." He reaches into his coat pocket. Eli tenses for a moment, but the man doesn't pull out a wallet or cash. He pulls out an old photograph, edges yellowed, creased. Like it's been handled for years. He slides it across the table face down. Eli blinks uncertain, then flips it over and freezes, because staring back from that photo is him. 6 years old, smiling in the sunlight, a small scar above. His eyebrow the same one he got when he fell off his bike, the same birthmark on his neck. It's him, no question. But he's never seen this photo before, ever. His stomach twists, his fingers tighten around the paper. He looks up, confusion flooding his face. "What is this? Where did you get this?" The man doesn't answer right away, he just watches Eli. His lips twitch in what might be a smile, then he says quietly, "You really don't know, do you?" Eli stares. "What are you talking about?" The man pushes the photo closer. "Look at the background." Eli glances back at it. A yellow house, white shutters, chain link fence behind him. A man's silhouette standing half in shadow, out of focus, but even blurred. Eli can see it. The shape, the posture, the outline of a man who looks exactly like the one sitting across from him. Now Eli's voice comes out shaky. "Who are you?" The man leans forward, his eyes steady. "My name's Calvin Rhodes." Eli frowns. "Never heard of you, Calvin." Nods once, maybe not, but you should have. He gestures toward the "you should." "Photo your mother ever tell you anything about where you came from?" Eli hesitates. "My mom said my dad left before I was born. That's all." Calvin's eyes darken. "She told you that, huh?" That figures. Eli's heartbeat grows louder in his ears. "What's that supposed to mean?" Calvin exhales, slow measured, like he's holding back years of rage. "It means someone's been lying to you for a very long time." Eli laughs nervously. "I don't understand." Calvin points to the picture again. 23 years ago, my wife Clara and my little boy disappeared. They were staying with her sister while I was working out of town. When I came back, the house was empty. No note, no trace. I looked for them for years. The police said they probably ran, but I knew better. And then 3 months ago, I get that picture in the mail. No return address, no explanation. Just that photo and one word written on the back. He flips it over. Eli reads it aloud. Alive. His throat goes dry. "I don't get it. What does this have to do with me?" Calvin's voice softens. "Because you are that boy." Eli stares at him. The room feels smaller, heavier, like the air has thickened around them. He laughs again, but it doesn't sound right. "Okay. Look, I don't know what kind of game this is, but..." Calvin interrupts quietly. "It's no game. I've been looking for you for 20 years. The clock ticks, the fridge hums, and the neon light outside flickers. Eli's fingers tremble. He looks from the man to the photo and back again. His mom always said his dad was gone, left before he was born, but she never showed him pictures, never talked about him, and now this stranger with the same eyes, the same nose is saying, "He's his father." Eli whispers, "You're saying you're my dad." Calvin nods slowly. "I can prove it." He reaches for his coat again, pulls out a folded piece of paper. But before he can hand it over the front door, opens the bell above it, jingles, and a cold gust of wind cuts through the diner. Eli looks up and freezes. A woman stands in the doorway, her coat dripping from the rain outside her hair. Pulled back tight. Her eyes locked on them both. Her face pale as if she's seen a ghost. Eli's heart drops because it's her. His mother, Linda Turner. She shouldn't be here. She told him she was home asleep, but now she's standing there looking at him and the man at the booth, and in her eyes, there's something he's never seen before. Fear. Pure, sharp fear. She whispers, "Eli, what are you doing?" And in that moment, the whole night shifts into something dark, something he can't escape. The air feels thick, like it's holding its breath. Linda stands frozen just inside the doorway, her eyes darting between Eli and Calvin like she's trying to decide whether to run or scream. Eli's voice shakes, "Mom, what are you doing here?" She doesn't answer right away. She just stares at Calvin. Her jaw clenched, her hands trembling at her sides. Then she says quietly, "What are you doing to him, Calvin?" Her tone isn't angry. It's terrified. Calvin doesn't look fazed. He just leans back in the booth, folds his hands on the table and says, "Telling him the truth. Something you should have done a long time ago." Linda's face drains of color. She takes a step closer, lowering her voice. "Don't do this. Not here. Not now." But Eli can't stand the silence. His pulse racing. He holds up the photograph. "Mom, what is this? Who is this man? Why does he have a picture of me?" She glances at it and her whole body stiffens, her lips part, but no sound comes out. Finally, she whispers, "Where did you get that?" Calvin answers the mail, same as the last one. Eli frowns. "Last one? What are you talking about?" Linda shakes her head. "Stop, please, Calvin." But Calvin ignores her and says, clear as a confession, the picture proves it. "Eli, you're my son." Linda gasps. Eli stares between them. "My what?" He laughs, but it comes out broken. "That's not possible." Mom tells him. She doesn't move her voice, barely a whisper. "Eli, let's just go home, okay? We'll talk about this later." He takes a step back. "No. We'll talk about it now." He turns to Calvin. "You're saying, she took me from you 20 years ago." Calvin nods. Slow. Heavy. "That's exactly what I'm saying. She didn't just take you. She disappeared. She changed your name. Moved. State started over like I never existed." Linda's voice cracks. "That's not true. You don't know what you're talking about." Calvin looks at her and for a moment, something fierce flickers behind his calm eyes. "Oh, I know exactly what I'm talking about. You lied. You hid. You made me a ghost." Eli looks at his mother, his voice trembling. "Mom, is it true she doesn't?" "Speak," he repeats louder. "Is it true?" Her silence says enough. He steps back. The diner's hum sounds distant, unreal. "Why would you do that? Why would you take me from him?" Linda finally whispers, "Because I was protecting you." Her words cut through the noise. "Protecting me from what?" "From him." Eli's voice rises. "What do you mean from him?" She looks at Calvin, her face contorted in fear and anger. "Both because he's dangerous, Eli. He always was." Calvin's expression turns dark. "You don't get to twist it like that, Linda. You don't get to tell half a story." She fires back, "Half a story? You killed a man. Calvin, you think that's half a story?" Eli's breath catches what he looks at. "Calvin killed a man. What are you talking about?" Calvin's voice grows harsh. "That's a lie. You know?" Linda says, her voice breaking. "It's not a lie. You beat him to death. You said it was an accident, but you were smiling." Calvin slams his hand on the table, making Eli jump. "I was protecting you," he roars, and suddenly the calm mask slips the raw fury. Underneath, leaking out, Linda trembles, whispering, "No, you weren't protecting us. You were proving a point. You were showing me what happens when people cross you. Eli's heart pounds louder than the ticking clock outside. None of this makes sense. His father, a murderer. His mother, a liar. He looks at the photo again and notices something strange at the edge of the frame blurred in the background behind the fence. There's another figure, smaller. A child. His stomach twists. Who's that? He asks. Linda. Blinks, her mouth opens, but no words come. Calvin's eyes narrow. Tell him, Linda. Go ahead. She stares down at the floor, whispering, It's no one. Calvin leans forward, his tone like ice. Tell him about the other one. Linda's shoulders shake. Don't you dare. Calvin says it anyway. You had a brother. Eli stops breathing. What? She shakes her head. Slowly, no. No. Calvin continues. She told you he died, but she never told you how Eli's vision blurs. What, brother? What are you talking about? Linda finally looks up, tears streaming. Down her face, you had a twin, she whispers. His name was Ethan. Eli's mind reels. Memories flash that don't make sense. 2 bikes in the yard, 2 voices laughing in the distance. Sometimes he thought he was dreaming them. He whispers, I remember, but not really. She nods, crying harder. You were 6 the night we left. There was a storm. Thunder, lightning. The power went out. Ethan went missing. Calvin's voice cuts in. No, he didn't go missing, Linda. You locked him in the basement. Eli's head snaps toward her, his voice rising. What Calvin stands now pointing at her. Tell him the truth. Tell him what you did. She covers her ears, shaking. No, stop. He keeps going, his voice trembling with rage. You called it discipline. Said he needed to learn respect. You locked him in there and forgot him when the flood came. You just left, she screams. Stop, it's not true. Calvin yells louder. I found him. I pulled him out myself. He wasn't breathing. Eli's chest tightens. The room spins. The sound of rain outside grows louder in his head, like a storm repeating itself. He whispers, Mom, tell me it's not true. She sobs, her voice breaking. I tried to save him. Eli, I did. I went back for him, but you were crying upstairs and I couldn't leave you alone. I thought your father would help, but he was gone. She looks at Calvin with pure hatred. You weren't there until it was too late. Calvin steps closer, his voice low and sharp. I never forgave you for that, and you never forgave yourself. That's why you ran. Eli backs away from them both, his voice cracking. You're both insane. Stop talking. None of this is real. Calvin looks at him, his tone almost pleading. Come with me tomorrow. Come see for yourself. I kept the house, it's still there. Everything she did, still there. You'll know the truth. Linda grabs Eli's arm, shaking her head. Don't you go with him, please. He'll ruin you too. Calvin's face softens for a heartbeat, or maybe he just looks tired. You're already ruined, son. You just don't know it yet. He lays some bills on the table and walks to the door, his boots heavy on the tile. The bell above the door jingles softly, and then he's gone. The night swallows him. Linda collapses into the booth, shaking. Eli stands motionless, the photograph still in his hand. He flips it over again, reading that single word, alive. And for the first time it feels less like hope and more like a warning. The next morning the world feels wrong. Even the sunrise looks dull, like the sky's holding back a secret. Eli hasn't slept. He sits in his car outside Ravenwood Diner, the photograph on the passenger seat. That one word, alive, burned into his mind over and over. He told himself he wouldn't go. He told himself his mother was right, that Calvin was dangerous. But the truth is already in motion now, and he can't stop it by noon. He's driving north. The road cutting through empty fields and gray clouds, the air cold, the radio silent. The only sound, the hum of the tires against cracked asphalt. He doesn't know why he's doing this. Maybe to prove his mother wrong. Maybe to prove the stranger wrong. Or maybe, because deep down, he already knows the truth is waiting for him. When he finally reaches the address, Calvin texted. It's not what he expected, it's worse. An old farmhouse at the edge of the woods, half-collapsed roof, ivy crawling up its sides. The windows boarded, the door sagging like it's too tired to stand. The place feels dead, even the air smells of rust and rain. Eli kills the engine, steps out, his breath turning white in the cold. He stares at the porch, and for a moment he swears he sees a flicker of movement in the upper window, like someone watching him. But when he blinks, it's gone. He climbs the steps. The boards creaking under his feet, knocks once, twice. No answer. He hesitates, then pushes the door. It opens with a groan. The smell hits him first. Mold, dust, rot. But underneath it, something else. Faint metallic, like old blood. Calvin's voice comes from the darkness inside you. Came. Eli startles. Calvin steps out from the shadows wearing the same coat from last night. His face, unreadable part, relief. Part. Something else. Something hollow. Eli swallows hard. What is this place? Calvin looks around slowly. This was home once where it all happened. He gestures for Eli to follow. Eli hesitates, but steps inside the floorboards, wine under his boots. He glances around, wallpaper peeling, furniture draped in sheets. Everything covered in years of silence. Calvin walks ahead. His tone low measured. She said, "I was dangerous. Maybe I was, maybe we both were. But I never meant for him to die." He leads Eli through the narrow hallway to a locked door at the end. The basement door. Calvin kneels, pulls a small key from his pocket, and unlocks it. The hinges scream as it opens, a damp smell rising from below. Eli peers into the darkness. A staircase leading down, half-flooded flickers of light catching on the water's surface. Calvin grabs a flashlight, flicks it on the beam, cutting through the black. Come on. Eli follows slowly, each step creaking water, lapping at his boots. The air heavy with mildew and memory. The beam sweeps across the room. Broken toys, rusted metal. A single small bed frame still standing in the corner, chained to the wall. Eli freezes, his stomach twists. The sight feels unreal, like a nightmare, but he can't look away. He whispers, "What is this?" Calvin's voice cracks. "This is where she kept him." Eli turns slowly. "What?" "She said you did this." Calvin shakes his head. "No, she did. I just didn't stop it. I should have. I came home too late. The storm had already flooded it. I found him here floating. I pulled him out, but she took you and ran before the cops came." Eli's mind spins. None of it feels possible. The flashlight beam lands on the far wall. Something carved into the wood. Deep lines scratched by small hands. Eli steps closer and sees the words scrawled over and over. Ethan, Ethan, Ethan. His vision blurs, his heart pounding. He backs away, stumbling against the stairs, his voice trembling. "This isn't real. This can't be real." Calvin says, "I didn't send the photo. Someone else did." Eli looks up. "What?" Calvin nods. Slow. 3 months ago, I got that picture in the mail. But no return address, no name, just the word alive. I thought maybe she sent it. Maybe she wanted to make me remember. But now, I think it was him. Eli stares him. His voice barely a whisper. Who? Calvin raises the flashlight. The beam flickers against the ceiling. The water ripples faintly, like something beneath it. "Just moved," he says, "Ethan." Eli laughs, a short, desperate sound that's not funny. Calvin doesn't move his face, pale, serious. Dead serious. "I'm not joking. I've been hearing things here every night. Footsteps upstairs, whispers in the hall." He glances at the far wall. "Sometimes I find this scratched into the wood." Fresh. Eli steps back, shaking his head. "That's impossible." Calvin looks at him. His eyes wide, haunted. Maybe not the house remembers. Eli turns to leave, but freezes. There's something floating near the far side of the room, half hidden under the murky water. The flashlight beam trembles as Calvin moves it closer, revealing a shape. Small, pale, wrapped in a torn blanket. Calvin's breath catches. Eli's heart stops. The shape bumps against a beam and something breaks loose, drifting closer. It's a child's skeleton. Tiny, still wearing a rusted bracelet around the wrist. Eli kneels, trembling, lifts the bracelet from the bone. The metal worn, but the name still legible, etched. In small letters, Ethan. His throat closes, he drops it, stumbles backward. Calvin covers his face, whispering, "Oh God! Oh God! She told me the police took him. I never knew they left him here." Eli stares at the remains. The photograph in his jacket pocket burns against his chest, the word alive echoing in his head. He whispers, "Someone sent that picture. But who? Why?" Calvin kneels beside him. Maybe he never left. Eli looks around, the shadows seem to shift the water. Ripples again, a faint sound fills the air, soft. At first like the echo of a laugh, a child's laugh. Calvin freezes. Did you hear that? Eli's voice trembles. No, no, that's just the wind. But the sound grows louder, echoing off the walls. A small voice, giggling, distant but close. Calvin shines the light toward the corner. Nothing there, just an old toy truck half submerged. It rolls forward by itself. The flashlight flickers once, twice, and goes out. Darkness swallows them both. Calvin curses, hitting the light. Eli can't see anything, can only hear the slow drip of water, the faint creak of movement behind them, then a voice whispering in the dark. Eli, Eli, his heart stops cold. He whispers, Calvin, did you hear that? Calvin whispers back, his voice shaking. Yes, the flashlight sputters back on for a split second, illuminating the far wall, where fresh wet handprints, small child-sized, smear down the wood. Calvin drops, the light it splashes into. The water goes out again in the darkness. Eli hears him whisper, we need to go now. But something grabs Eli's ankle. Cold, wet like a hand. He yells, trying to kick free, slips and falls, the water rising around him. Calvin pulls him up. They scramble for the stairs, panting, clawing their way up into the hallway, slamming the door shut behind them, both gasping for air. Eli's soaked, trembling. He stares at Calvin. What was that? Calvin doesn't answer, just looks back at the door. Eyes wide, haunted. That wasn't him. That was something else. Eli says nothing, just stands there, dripping, shaking, his heart beating like a drum. He whispers, I saw. His name carved in the wood. Calvin nods, his voice faint. I told you, the house remembers. Eli doesn't sleep that night. He drives back to town with the heater blasting, but still feels cold, deep cold, like something followed him out of that house. His clothes are soaked, his hands shaking. He doesn't talk to Calvin the entire ride. Neither of them says a word. The silence is heavier than the rain tapping on the windshield when they reach the diner parking lot. Calvin gets out first, staring at the empty road like he's waiting for something. Eli can't take it anymore. He says quietly, I'm calling the police. Calvin nods slowly. Maybe that's best. His voice sounds distant, hollow. Eli dials, but halfway through he stops. What exactly is he supposed to say? That he found a skeleton in a basement belonging to a family he never knew, that a ghost might still live there? The words die in his throat. He hangs up instead. Calvin looks at him. You don't believe me, do you? Eli doesn't answer, just grips the steering wheel tighter. Calvin sighs, turns to walk away, but then stops and says, without looking back, if you hear from your mother, tell her she can stop running. Now he disappears into the dark, his figure swallowed by fog. Eli sits there for what feels like hours. The diner lights off, the neon sign flickering above him. Alive, half-lit, the last letter burned out. He stares at it until dawn bleeds into the sky when he finally drives home. His mother is gone. Her car still in the driveway door, unlocked lights still on, but she isn't there. Only a note on the kitchen table written in her handwriting. It says simply, I'm sorry for everything underneath it. An old photograph torn down the middle, one half showing her, and a small boy, the other missing. Eli picks it up, his chest tightening. There's something written on the back in faded ink, a date, 2002. And one more word, home. His eyes widen. He looks at the calendar, realizes that date is today's date. November 6th, 23 years later. His pulse quickens. He runs his hand through his hair, grabs his keys and drives again back to that same address, the farmhouse. Waiting under gray skies, the wind colder, the silence thicker. When he gets out, he notices the door already open. He calls out Calvin, but there's no answer. He steps inside, the floor still wet from the night before, the flashlight on the ground flickering weakly, like it's been left on all night. Calvin, he calls again. Nothing. He moves toward the hallway. The basement door cracked open, faint light spilling up from below. Eli descends slowly, heart pounding, every creak of the step echoing too loud. He reaches the bottom, shines the light around the room. The skeleton is gone, the bed frame empty. The chains rusted but open. The word Ethan still carved into the wall. But next to it, something new, carved deep and fresh. Another word this time. Eli, his voice catches. He stumbles backward, the light shaking. He turns around and stops because Calvin is there, standing in the corner. Eyes wide, blank water dripping from his coat. Eli breathes out. "Oh, thank God you scared me," but Calvin doesn't move, his face, pale gray lips. Trembling, Eli steps closer. "Dad, are you okay?" And then he sees it. Calvin's feet are underwater but not touching the ground, his body half-suspended, eyes glassy, lifeless. Eli's breath catches. He stumbles back, horrified. He's floating, the water rising around him like invisible hands holding him in place. A small sound breaks the silence, a child's giggle. Eli freezes. The voice comes again, soft right behind him. Eli, he spins the flashlight beam, cuts through the dark, lands on the far side of the room, a small figure standing there, a boy soaking wet skin, pale eyes hollow. A perfect mirror of himself at 6 years old. The same scar, same birthmark. The boy tilts his head, smiling faintly, then whispers, "You left me." Eli can't speak, his throat locked. The boy steps closer, water dripping from his fingertips, leaving trails across the concrete. Eli backs away. "I didn't know. I didn't know," the boy whispers. "You forgot me. You let her leave me." Eli shakes his head, tears burning his eyes. "I didn't know, I swear. I didn't know." The boy's face softens for a moment, almost forgiving, then changes, his smile widening too far, his voice echoing like it's coming from everywhere at once. "Now you remember?" The lights flicker violently, the walls creak, the sound of rushing water fills the basement. Eli screams, tries to run, but the door slams shut above him. The flashlight flickers, goes out, everything turns black. Silence. Then a single child's laugh echoing until it fades to nothing when the police finally arrive 2 days later after neighbors report seeing lights and hearing screams. They find the door broken open, the basement half flooded but empty. No sign of Eli, no sign of Calvin. Just 2 sets of footprints leading down and 1 set coming back up, small prints. Child-sized, the detective stands there looking at the words carved into the wall. Ethan and Eli side by side. Both freshly cut, the water still rippling faintly, as if something just moved beneath the surface. Later the house is condemned, sealed off, the reports call it accidental drowning, another family tragedy. The files close quietly. But in town people talk. The diner shuts down. A month later, someone buys the property at auction, plans to renovate. But the workers quit after 1 night. Say they heard a child laughing from the basement, that the lights kept turning on by themselves. Nobody goes near it anymore on certain nights when the wind is low and the fog rolls in. Locals swear they see a young man in a waiter's uniform standing by the window, staring out like he's waiting for someone, holding something small in his hand, an old photograph. The next morning the window is empty again, just rain streaking the glass and silence for miles. They say the house remembers, and some things don't want to be forgotten. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was justice. Maybe something else entirely. But one thing is certain. Every secret buried eventually finds its way back to the surface, and some ghosts never rest. So if you ever find an old photo of yourself in the hands of a stranger, maybe just walk away, because sometimes the truth doesn't set you free, it just pulls you under. And if you found this story chilling, mysterious, or left you with questions, consider subscribing for more stories like this one hit. Like if you think you'd have gone into that house, and tell me in the comments what you would have done differently. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, some doors once opened can never be closed again.